so that way, uh, yeah, we can start. I can start posting things that will hold our government accountable, because right now our government is not accountable at all, and uh, many of the freedoms that were afforded to us in the Constitution are gone. Now, I'm personally an anarchist, and I don't believe in having any government at all. But I also understand that the way society is today, we're not ready to live without a government. But if we can't, as anarchists, if we cannot hold you know the gang that's in power right now accountable, and hold check their power, then we're not going to be able to hold or check the power of any other gang that takes power if anarchy were to take place. And most people think anarchy taking place is a bunch of gangs taking over and violence and fighting. No, that's what we have now. That's exactly what a government is. A government is a mafia, a gang, a terrorist organization that forces their will on other people through the threat of violence. And this isn't okay. Expect to be able to defend our freedoms without a government to protect our freedoms, then we're not going to be able to protect our freedoms at all, against anybody. So we need to step up and protect what freedoms we do have now, and slowly show people alternatives to government, that alternative solutions that work, that replaces government with you know people, regular ordinary people, that does it in a non-coercive, non-violent way. We can do things like dominoes, building roads. A lot of states have said, oh, who's going to build the roads? Well, you know what? We give how much money to the government, and they can't even fix our own roads. Our roads are so bad that Domino's has to step in. So if you think that government is the solution, well, why are they doing such a poor job? If that is the solution, they always do a poor job. Look at our roads. There's potholes. I can't tell you how many times I've fucked up my car that I'm sitting in right now because the government's failed to fix the road. There's one road here that's only like a mile long, and it took them 1 year to repave it. 1 year. What were they spending their money and their time on? Jerking off. They're wasting it. They take all sorts of tax dollars for what? To repair roads that they don't repair? So where does that money go? You know, this is where I believe we need to start holding this current government accountable for their actions as uh, as a people, as a whole. And we need to start getting down to where, it's individual cities that are in charge of cities, and not a national government. It's wrong for people to vote here in California to tell people in Florida how to live. And it's wrong for people in Florida to vote to tell people in California how to live. It's wrong for people in San Francisco to vote to tell people in LA how to live. And it's wrong for people in LA to vote to tell people in San Francisco how to live. This is wrong. People think voting, oh, if you want change, vote. So what? I'm supposed to force change on people that don't want it by the threat of a gun and jail time, and that's kidnapping and that's torture. So, government accountability, how do we have it? Well, we got to do a couple things. First of all, we have to film the government interactions. We have to film and produce them into quality videos. And I'm kind of learning that. I did some really poor quality video um, about the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency. Uh, they have their parking enforcement office that was one block from where I used to live. And so I finally just recently moved, and 4 years, 4.5 years of living in that apartment, I had seen them constantly illegally parking their city vehicles in front of fire hydrants, in handicap zones, and just wherever they pleased. They would just park everywhere. Then they were parking their personal vehicles, and not just the city vehicles, their personal vehicles in metered parking, not paying at all, and obviously not getting tickets, as they are a part of the ticket enforcement. They're the ones who got to give the tickets, so of course they're not going to give themselves tickets. So who gives them tickets? Well, after calling everybody, nobody gives them tickets. Nobody can give them tickets except for the parking meter maids. This is fucked up. So what did I do? I went down and I filmed it, and I confronted them. I put the camera in their face and I said, "So you're just gonna park in front of a fire hydrant? You know, isn't that's wrong?" And I'm telling them, like, shaming them. That's wrong. You're gonna steal somebody else's car and hold it ransom for parking in that exact same parking spot you just parked in. And you think that's okay? And I got a lot of negative responses from them. A lot of negative responses, and you know, um, threats too. Like they took my picture. They spread it around their whole parking enforcement unit, and every single person's looking out for me. Look out for this guy. He's telling us that we can't illegally park. And when I talked to the sergeant about it, because some of them were actually blocking the road, there was one city vehicle that was just parked in the middle of a road, no flashers, no yellow lights, no hazards, nothing, just parked, walked off. And so I went into their office because I was already filming all their other illegally parked things, and I said, okay, so who do I have to talk to about your cars being illegally parked? All of a sudden, they came out in numbers. They surrounded me with 4, 5 motherfucking people. I don't even remember. And then the sergeant, the lady that came out to talk to me, and when I'm bringing her out and pointing out the vehicles that were illegally parked, she said, "Oh, it's our policy to park in the red zones and in the no parking zones." I said, "Really? So can I have a copy of that policy?" And then she backtracked and she said, "Oh, well, it's not policy, it's practice." I said, "So it's practice for you to break the law?" Unfortunately, all of this, I don't have good memory on my camera. One of the reasons I'm kind of going live right now instead of just videotaping this and putting it up is I got like 2 gigabytes worth of memory in my camera and on my phone. I don't have a very expensive, fancy phone. I'm not a rich guy, but I lost a lot of footage, and that sucks. So that's what I've learned. But the thing is, even though I lost a lot of footage, I did take a lot of pictures, and I'm gonna be putting together a slideshow video with these pictures, and I'll be uploading it here to this channel. And so, but what I kind of wanted to go over, because I didn't really get good film because I was kind of in the moment, a little bit angry. I've been dealing with these people for 4 years, thinking that they can just do whatever the fuck they want. That emotions of build up, and not wanting to get retaliated against because I live right next to them. And so, anyways, long story short, I did a whistleblower complaint after it was mostly picture taking that I was doing for documentation. I was taking pictures of every single vehicle that was illegally parked, getting the license plate number, the city number, getting a wide angle of where they were parked, why it was, in front of fire hydrants, in handicap zones, in red towaway zones, and yellow towaway zones, and construction working zones, where they have a little thing that says no parking for construction workers. They think that they can still just park there because they're the ones that give tickets, so who's going to give them a ticket? And after trying to ask all of them for their badge numbers, being refused, or them denying me that public information, their badge numbers, refused to identify themselves, then asking them for a supervisor number, always getting a bullshit supervisor number. And finally, for the sergeant, I mean, I had to ask her 10 different times, and then they called the cops on me because I was in there filming them, and then the cops told them I can film them, and then they went away. And actually, a really awesome officer showed up. He was doing his job. He said, "Yep, no, it's your First Amendment to be out here. They have no right to privacy in public. You know, as long as you don't go back into that building unless you have business." And you know, he didn't trespass me, but he said, as long as you don't go back into that business into there without business, then I don't have anything to trespass you for. You were out here on the public sidewalk. Yes, I did go into their office, but I had business in the office. And you know, after telling him that the lady refused to give me her supervisor's number, he said, okay, and he went and got the supervisor's number for me and gave it to me. That was the only reason. Then I called the supervisor. The supervisor doesn't give a fuck. Takes my complaint, throws it in the trash. So, you know, and after calling all sorts of different numbers, I was told my only option for redress was to have a whistleblower complaint. And that's when I started doing the picture taking and the filming. And I wasn't quite prepared for it. I mean, it was sort of just a whim. I was just sort of going out there. I finally had enough, so I just got out there and said, I'm dealing with this issue because this is an issue. And I got a lot of support from the general public, of people that were around there. Hey, yeah, man, somebody's got to hold them accountable. They're always illegally parking. Just tons of that. And guess what? It had an effect, because after I made a lot of noise about it, a lot of noise, and I wish I would have gotten a lot of this on camera. I really lost a lot of like wonderful, good footage of these tyrants, and that sucks. But you know, the you know the whistleblower complaint and the making noise about it really worked, because now, you know, going back there and trying to film again, their city cars are not parked in the red zones and the handicap zones and the fire hydrants. They no longer park there. And I had even actually witnessed one guy that I had several interactions with who was parking illegally everywhere. You know, he's now on a bicycle instead of a little three-wheeled parking enforcement vehicle. So you know, he got demoted. So at least it worked to a point, and it worked because I made noise, and because I did take video, and because they knew that the more noise I made, the worse it was going to look for them, so that they better do something now and not make it worse for themselves. And so, you know, government accountability can happen, and it happens through our First Amendment right. It happens through filming and through articles of these corrupt government officials into the press, and we can hold them accountable. Because once they're out, once their shenanigans is released out to the public, they are no longer secure in their positions. They are no longer above the law. And now all of a sudden you can force them to follow their own policies, to follow their own laws. And the other thing is that I'm doing is they also illegally park their own personal vehicles. And so they're continuing to do this. I did not make noise about this. I quietly did a whistleblower. I could continue to gather evidence of it, because gathering evidence is very important, and so I can put that evidence out to you guys and to the public, and also, you know, more towards the detectives that investigate these abuses of power. Now, when I was in the office to file this whistleblower complaint, one of the detectives there actually, he said, you know, you better, really all serious, after the end of it, you better watch out for your own safety. And I didn't really, it didn't really quite click in my mind what he meant by it. And really what he meant by it was a threat, because I said, well, I'm not worried about my personal safety, because, you know, if you would give safety, or if you prefer safety over liberty, you deserve neither. And I told him this. And then he continued to tell me, no, what I'm telling you is, if you pursue this farther, you are putting yourself at risk. You need to keep yourself safe. And so what he was telling me is he was threatening. It wasn't him concerned about my safety. He was letting me know that if I continue to expose this corruption, my safety is at risk. And my safety was at risk from this guy, in my personal opinion, after hearing this. Now, I did not film or record this interaction with the whistleblower complaint in City Hall. I'm in San Francisco, by the way. So, so what I did for my safety and for my own to actually make effect is, I went down there and I kept filming, and I didn't heed his warning, and I kept pursuing this topic. And fortunately, I mean, I do have some footage. I haven't put it all out on this channel. I've only put one video, and that one video is of a Muni bus driver almost running me down on the sidewalk, because they always illegally parked on the sidewalk in this alleyway, right behind where their office is. And so I was standing on the sidewalk, and this lady thought that she had, you know, the right to push me off the sidewalk with her vehicle and almost hit me. I mean, my back was up against the wall, and she was this close to hitting me. And it shows it in the video that I have actually uploaded on here. And that's in retaliation for me filming their crimes. And like, at first, I went down there at least 5 different times, and at first they're just laughing me off. Oh, this guy's just angry because he got a ticket, so he's nobody, he's not going to go very far. Just mocking me and laughing in my face, basically, and then just parking everywhere illegally, in front of the fire hydrants, in front of this, in front of the, which is pretty fucked up. And then there, right next to them is a catering business that has a yellow line that says 30-minute unloading and loading only, and that's for that business, so that way they can get their catering trucks in, get the food in, and get it out and delivered. And then they would just park there, and then these people would be forced to park in the lane, in the street, blocking traffic, just to load and unload their stuff. And they're just, yeah, but we can do whatever we want. Yep. And one guy, I filmed him, and unfortunately, I didn't quite realize I was out of memory when I was taking this film, and I started filming. But I caught him right as he parked in front of a fire hydrant, and then I walked up to him and I was like, so you're just gonna park in front of a fire hydrant? You don't think that's a safety hazard, but you're gonna tow other people away for doing the same exact thing? And he was just like, yep, I do what I want. Yep. Just let all your anger out, buddy. And so I'm following him, and like, it's messed up. If just me, a normal citizen, parks in front of a fire hydrant, they get towed. And when they get towed, then their car is held ransom, charged, pay them to get it back. So that's stealing, theft of somebody's car, and then holding it ransom for them to get it back. So that's how the mafia works. And I will be doing a 30-minute documentary on this, and I'm going to call it the 2-hour parking scam, because here in San Francisco you have 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour parking limits, and then you have metered parking. And the whole city, even in residential private neighborhoods where there's no businesses, you have 2-hour parking. Why? Why? Because they want you to pay for a parking permit in that area to extort you for money. And if you don't have a parking permit, then you have to leave your house every 2 hours and go play musical cars with the next person that lives in their house that doesn't have a parking permit, and you got to switch spots. Makes zero fucking sense. And what they're saying is, oh, we're trying to discourage people from owning cars in the city. So you're trying to discourage working people from working. I mean, I'm a working man. I need my car for my job. I need my vehicle so that way I can get out there and do things. And so, this is prohibiting my right to pursue happiness. This is, because if I show up to a job and I've got, 4 or 5 hours worth of work, it doesn't matter whether the parking is 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours. I'm going to be there for 5 hours because that's how long I need to be there. And now, instead, I'm forced to every so many hours, I'm forced to come out and move my car. So I have to leave my job from earning money, come out, move my car around the block, and then go back and work. But do I leave the neighborhood? No. So I'm still just the same car in the same neighborhood. And so this makes absolutely no sense. So I'm going to be doing a lot of research. I'm trying to get some in-person interviews with the parking people, although now they know who I am and they don't really like me, so they're not going to really cooperate as much. So I'm going to have to sort of find a partner that can go in there and sort of take over for me as far as the in-person interviews. But I'm going to do research. I'm also going to I'm going to personally do on-the-ground interviews with people that are living in these neighborhoods and affected by these neighborhoods. And then I'm going to compare the ones here in San Francisco to, there's a neighborhood in Daly City that's right next to a big parking center, and they have no parking limit zones, no parking limits, zero. You could park there all week if you wanted. They just have street cleaning. So just 1 day per week for 2 hours, you have to move your car so that way they can come and clean the street. That's a little bit more reasonable, but that's still kind of a scam because the street cleaners don't really clean the yeah, I mean, it's a pretty big waste of resources, if you ask me. I've watched the street cleaners drive by my house, and all the trash that was on the street before they drove by is still there after they drove by. They just have little spinners that spray water and then spin the trash around and get it all wet and then drive off. So now we don't just have trash on the street, we have wet trash on the street, and now it's been shuffled in a circle. Smart. But so I'm going to be doing and I'm going to start, this whole thing, it kind of gave me an idea. I'm going to do something called I'm going to do a docu-series, and I'm going to call the whole docu-series The Mafia Shakedown. And the first episode will be a 30-minute episode about the 2-hour parking scam. And then I'm going to go from there and do some other issues about government accountability. And on this channel, I'm going to start doing First Amendment audits, and I'm going to start doing like different anything that, I'm going to start filming and exposing the corrupt government for what it is. And I don't want to just complain and whine and expose the government, the corrupt government, but I also want to provide actual viable solutions and alternatives to governments. So, for all of these things that I complain about, I will provide a non-governmental solution to these problems and how they can be solved in ways that do not involve the government. And come on, people, in today's day and age, we have technology. We don't need a government. Technology will make the government obsolete. We don't need an armed revolution. We don't need, to overthrow the government. We don't need to kick out the government. We just need to make the government obsolete. through technology. And technology is already doing that, and it's, the government, the current government is fighting tooth and nail against it, tooth and nail. And that's what, blockchain and cryptocurrencies are going to definitely play a huge role in it. And then people are going to realize and understand that decentralization is the key. We shouldn't have centralization. We shouldn't have centralized government, but a decentralized form of governance, of self-governance. A community can come together in a decentralized manner and make decisions for itself without some bigger government coming in and saying, "Oh, you have to do it this way and that way and this way, and by the way, give us 30% of your money." Hell no. So, guys, you know, please subscribe, like, and stay tuned. And if you have any specific things that you would like me to discuss, if you've got some corrupt government officials in your area that you would like me to come and film and do a whole gig about, please let me know in the comments below. And I hope to bring you guys some quality content. And unfortunately, this first big action I took for government accountability wasn't very well filmed, but I'll put together and piece together what I got and sort of put it out there. And I've learned a lot from it, and I know next time I'll do better. And so the next time I'm out there, I will be going live, and I will update you all and do a huge live session. So thank you all for watching and listening, and remember, you don't need a government. You just need yourself. You don't need somebody else to tell other people that your way of life is the way of life for everybody. You need to prove it by living it. And if people agree, they'll voluntarily take your side. So, peace. How do you stop this? I've got no idea how to get out of live. Okay.